Welcome to Elevate Your Appian Interfaces with UI Design Basics. My name is Kim Day, and I will be your trainer for our little group here. Now, one of the great things about Appian is you can generate your commonly used interfaces, and then you can customize them with UI Basics in order to follow a particular use case or to meet any kind of requirements that you might have. So our session today, we're going to take two already generated interfaces, and then we'll just make some modifications to it so we can customize it to a particular use case. Our agenda is going to be as follows. We have our welcome, we are done. Then we're going to go, actually we'll talk a little bit about some design basics as well. Then we're going to do our build, which will be hopefully 2 exercises if we have enough time. And then we'll have a wrap up where you can answer, oh wow, that's a Jersey thing, isn't it? Ask some questions. All right, a little bit of logistics. So we are going to be building directly in Appian. So if you do have any general questions, if you could just hold them to the end. If you do have any kind of burning questions or if you're having any kind of problems at all, we do have some Appian experts in our back. There they are. And then if you just raise your hand, they'll come to you and they can help you out. Our solution application is also in the learning environment. So if you do miss a click, you can always go back and check that out as well. All right, now let's get started. So what we're looking at is a design pyramid. So basically this is a framework for explaining what users need out of their UI. Each of the panels in that triangle are going to represent a particular principle of UI basics, and their order in there is going to represent the importance of those. So of course we start with the functional. So it has to do what we are expecting it to do, but that's not the only thing that interfaces are expected to do. It's not just about functionality. It's also about efficiency. Can we minimize the number of clicks? Can we decrease the loading times for interfaces? And are they going to take action when they need to take action? We also want them to be intuitive. If I'm a new user, can I just jump in there and can I figure out what I need to do? If I'm an existing user, do I have to relearn a whole bunch of stuff in order to get it? And then finally, we want our interfaces to be beautiful. So we want them to feel harmonious on the page and well-balanced. All right, what we're seeing here is just a summary view. So notice how we have a really nice spacing involved here so that you can very easily go to exactly what you're looking for on the page. Also notice that consistency of the color palette makes it nice and easy to read and feels very well balanced. We also have an example of a form here. One of the things you might notice is the one column is being used here, so that way you do not have to move horizontally as well going vertically in that form. Also notice that we are using, well you might not notice because this is a brand new 25.2 component. This is called a full header template, so we're going to take a look at that later, but it makes it really, really easy to change styles and offers a lot of flexibility for your interfaces. All right, here's our use case. So we have NextGen. They're a distribution company that runs order fulfillment centers. They use Appian to automate their submission workflows across several teams. So what we're going to be doing is building out the user experience for customer accounts. They had a couple of requirements for us. Number one, they want to highlight key insights about a customer account. Number two, they want to ensure users can find the information that they need and quickly. And number three, they want us to follow NextGen's company branding guidelines. Now, Appian is going to generate beautiful, modern-looking interfaces with just a couple of clicks. Then you can take those and then you can customize them for the use case. So we're going to start off with a generated summary view. The summary view can be generated if you go into the record type, go under views, and then click on generate record view. Ours is going to be there already for us. A couple of things we're going to be doing. Number one, incorporating color. Number two, organizing information on the page. And number three, adding in a new component, including an AI component. Our second exercise, we have a create update form that's already there for you. That is created by, again, going into that record type. You can go under actions and then click on generate record action. We're going to be grouping related data, and then we're going to be using text to assist our users. Now, just to give you a preview of what we're going to be building. So this is the final format of the summary view that we're going to be making. So notice the use of spacing makes the, spacing and the cards that we have here are going to make it really easy to look at the information on the page and find things. And it also looks balanced on the page, so nothing is bigger than anything else by much. We also have those important KPIs across the top of the page. NextGen wanted us to have those key insights, so we added those in there as well. Next one's going to be the form that we're going to be creating. So if you notice that the branding matches the branding on the previous page, so it's consistent. Consistency is going to be really important. So that way the user knows what to expect when they're using your application, and users don't have to take time to adjust to different ways of looking at things. All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and start our build. So first, need everyone in the environment. So if you're not there already, please go ahead to devcon25.appian.community. You're going to sign in with your Appian community credentials, and then you can follow the instructions to get your workplace, to get your workspace. This is probably not the first time that you've logged in, so you probably don't need to get your workspace, in which case you can just go right to the designer there. If you do not have a computer or if you're experiencing any problems, we do have some loaners in the back if you need to. Whoops. All right, guys. Now, you can see I've logged in already, so I'm going to say, take me to the designer. Before we get started, everybody should see at their desk, there's an exercise guide, so I'm going to be following along with the format that's in there. If you also wanted a digital copy of that exercise guide, if you go to the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, go away now. If you go to the upper right-hand corner, this is what we call our navigation menu. And then if you scroll on down, we have all of our exercise guides online as well. We're not going to be copying any code, so probably the paper copy is going to be fine for you. All right. Now, first, we need to find the application that we are going to be working in. So you're looking for the W, and then there should be 4 numbers. That's the number that designates your particular workspace. Hands-on workshop. So go ahead and find that application and click on that guy. All right. Currently, we're in the Explore view, or if you're in the Explore view, what we're going to need to do is go down to the Build view. So over on the left-hand side, right under there, if you hover, one of the icons should say Build. So go ahead and click on Build. This is where you're going to find all of your application objects. First interface we're going to be looking for is the customer summary. So go ahead and scroll down. At least mine was towards the bottom there. So it should say W, have your number, how, UI, customer summary. Go ahead and open that guy up when you find it. Oh, sorry. Don't look. Don't look. There we go. Sorry, the branding was changed already. I didn't want to show you that yet. Okay, so this is what it would look like if you went ahead and generated the interface directly from the record type. So we already have some really nice UI design, best practices in here as well. So we're using our cards for grouping the information, and we're also using borders here so the content stands out. If you look at the cards, we have a little border on there. Ooh, that's loud. Stay away from there. Okay. All right, guys. In your exercise guides, you are going to be looking at page 3. So NextGen had some branding requirements for us, and they wanted to let us, there's a couple of tricks that you can use to change the branding very, very easily. So first off, though, a design tip. Excuse me. First off, a design tip. So typically, you should be using a smaller color palette if you can. That makes it a very clear, concise experience for your users, as opposed to having 5 or 6 different colors. Try to think of like the Ritz-Carlton versus maybe Circus in Las Vegas. Okay, try to make it elegant. All right, now we have this great new feature coming out in 25.2. This is called the branding preview. NextGen has a site that it's already using for its users to interact with the application. Sites, if you're brand new to Appian, sites can be made up of interfaces just like the one that we're working on right now. That branding preview can be found if you go up to the very top and you're looking for a little color palette. What this allows us to do is change the colors on here to match what the site has already for us. That way we can see it exactly as the end user would be seeing it. Go ahead and click on that little color palette. Yours is probably set to default right now, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to change that to NextGen's site, which is OFUI customer. So notice how now the color changes. You might have noticed when I first got in there, it had already been changed. That's because somebody had previously gone in and changed it. So the next time you open up an interface, that branding will already be applied for you, which is pretty nice. Okay. All right, now NextGen has a very particular shade of light blue that it likes to use for the backgrounds. If you are using a color repeatedly, it's nice to put it into a constant, so that way you don't have to go looking up what the hex code is for it. So we're going to be changing that color of that background. So if you go over to the component configuration, that's going to be over on the right-hand side. You should see the header content layout already selected. If you don't, you can go up to the top and click on it. We're going to scroll down to where we see the background color. And then we're just going to put in a little bit of code. Go ahead and hover where it says edit as expression. And then we're going to open that guy up. Right now, this is the hex code for the color it is currently. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And then we're going to type in the constant that we're going to be that NextGen uses. So it's CONS exclamation mark. Let me make that a little bigger. And then we're going to type in OF underscore UI. And then you should be able to pick out that light blue background color right from that list. Okay. Make that a little smaller again. All right, and then scroll on down to the bottom and go ahead and click on OK. All right, so now you can see we changed our color, so we got that little light blue shade. All right, now here's another design tip that we have. You can style your cards to match any aesthetic that you would like. In our case here, what NextGen wants is our cards to look almost like they have a layered look on the page. Currently, as I mentioned before, we're using sort of a border going around that card. That's what was generated for us. We're going to change that border so that we're using a shadow instead. So first we're going to go and we are going to select that card that the details are in. Then go ahead and select it. When you are hovering over an area, notice how it turns pink. If you've never used Appian before, that means that if you click on it, you'll have selected it, and that's what's going to show up in the component configuration. Okay. Then you'll come on over to the right-hand side. And then the border and shadow configuration is kind of towards the bottom here. So go ahead and deselect. Right now it says show border. We're going to deselect that guy. And then we're going to select show shadow instead. Now if I click away from my card, you can kind of see that now it has a little bit more of a layered effect. Now typically I would go through and I would change it for all of the cards that are on this page, but in the interest of time, I'm going to let you guys do that afterwards, okay? So go ahead and click on save. That's going to be in your upper right-hand side. All right, now the next thing we're going to be doing is rearranging the layout. So currently we have all of our details in one card, so we're going to change that and break some of those details out into separate cards. However, before we do that, I want to show you one other thing, especially if you're new to working in Appian. If you go on up to the top here, and then notice that there's a monitor, you can actually look at how your interface would look in different device widths by coming up here and selecting another device width. If you click up here where it has that little monitor, now currently mine is in desktop view, but if you hover over some of the other ones here, notice you can also see how it would look in a tablet view. You can look at how it would look in a phone, okay? So that's pretty nice. Just so that we're all looking at the same thing, go ahead and make sure yours is in that desktop view. All right, another design tip, we can use cards and typography to structure the page visually. Now, we currently, as I mentioned, we have all those customer details in the same card here, so we're going to break them out. That means that we're going to need to add a couple of new sections. So go on over to the left-hand side. You're going to find in your components, should be right up top there, you should be able to find a section. Go ahead and drag that section out. And then again, if you're new to Appian, that pink line is going to show you where it's going to drop it. So we kind of just want it underneath our section a little bit. Now the color for this section right now is blue. We're going to change that to black. So I'm going to come over here to my right-hand side. Scroll on down to where you have the color for the section. Currently it's the default, that's that blue. Let's go ahead and open that guy up, and then we're going to click on Standard. That's going to change it to black. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a card into that section. So again, if you come over to the left-hand side, go ahead and grab a card. Card's about the 5th one down. And again, if you're new, that pink box is going to tell us, it's going to put it right inside of that section for us. Perfect. Now, we got to make the card look like the other card that's on the page. Remember, consistency is important. So over on the right-hand side, first off, we're going to change the style of the card from transparent. And we're going to select none. That means our card is going to be white. Our other card is semi-rounded. So in the shape, which is right under that style, go ahead and click on semi-rounded. We're going to add a little additional padding to this guy. Right now it's using default for the padding. Let's go ahead and make that into standard. And then lastly, just like before, we want to get rid of the show border on this guy. And then we're going to select the show shadow. Now, we need 2 additional sections for what we're planning on doing. So instead of having to rebuild those sections from the very beginning, I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate the section I have with the card in it. So first, we're going to select the section. So if you kind of hover over where it says section, you should be able to select it. And then to the right of that guy, there's an arrow. Go ahead and click on the arrow and then select duplicate. I'm going to do the same thing down below, so we should have 3 brand new sections in here. Duplicate. All right, now once we have our 3 sections, now we can start moving some of our information from the details into those sections. Okay? We're going to start by moving all of our payment information out of here into the section below. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to select one of the components that is layered underneath of the current component. So if you can, go ahead where that rich text is, and then if you come up just a tiny bit, you should be able to get to the columns layout. We're going to take that entire columns layout and go ahead and move him down below. And wait for that pink box to show us that it's going to move it into there. All right, that looks pretty good. You might notice, however, that in the columns layout, it has a margin above it, so it's making it vertically off a little tiny bit. Let's go ahead and remove the margin above. That's going to make it even inside of there. So if I come over to the right-hand side, in that columns layout, we have margin above. Go ahead and click on that, and then let's go ahead and select none for that guy. All right, we're going to do the exact same thing with these important dates down here. We have our created on and modified on dates. So go ahead, hover until you can select the entire columns layout. I'm going to need to scroll just a little bit so I can get to my section below it. And then we're just going to drag him down below. If you needed to, obviously you could just put in columns and then drag the sections individually. Again, let's get rid of that margin that is above it in that columns layout. So in our component configuration, click on standard, click on margin above, and then go ahead and select none for this. All right, this is looking pretty good. Now, another thing NextGen wanted was to get key insights about its customers. So we're going to add in several KPIs to the top of our interface here. The first thing that we're going to need to do, oh, by the way, this is on exercise guide, page 8. So the first thing we're going to need to do is add in a summary so we can hold those KPIs, not a summary, a header so we can hold those KPIs. So if you scroll up to the very top of the page, and then go ahead and click so that the header content layout has been selected. Then if you come on over to the right-hand side, in that component configuration, you should see that header configuration. Go ahead and select it. We have a choice of a card or a billboard layout. Let's go ahead and add a card layout. Now, you might notice the card is sort of that light gray. We're going to change that so it matches NextGen's branding. Over in the right hand, or before you go up to there, go ahead and in that white space, we're going to make sure that we have that card layout selected. And then come on over to the right. You should be able to find where the style is. Go ahead and select choose a predefined style. And then rather than using the default, go ahead and use accent. Now this is pretty nice because again, it's going to look and see what the branding's accent color is, and then it's going to match it to whatever it is. So if it was fuchsia in the site, it's going to be fuchsia here, which I think would be lovely, but we have blue. That's okay. All right. Now, for our first KPI, actually, let's go ahead and add some columns in here first. So on the left-hand side, we're going to grab our columns. It's going to be the second one down under our components, and then drag them into that card. We're going to use the KPI component here, and I'm going to show you how to configure it. So you can either scroll down till you find the KPI component, or I find it easier, just go into the search bar and type in KPI. Once you find him, you can go to that very first column there and then drop him in there. Now, our first KPI is going to be the total value of the customer's orders. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is tell it where it's getting its data from. Again, over in that component configuration, you're going to be looking for the record type right under the data. It should be the very first configuration that you have there. For that record type, go ahead and type in OF customer. All right, there's lots of OF customers. We're going to do that very first record type that we have. Now, at the moment, it's looking at the entire customer record. We're going to have to filter that, so it's only looking at the one customer. So go ahead and click on Filter Records. And then down below, right above that cancel button, you should be able to find that add filter. This summary view that's coming in here is being held by what we call a rule input if you're brand new to Appian. So it's basically just a variable, a little bit of space to hold a single record. So the first thing we're going to tell it is we're going to be looking at the ID field of that record that's coming in. So in your dropdown under Field, go ahead and select ID. Our condition is going to be equals, and then in the value section, take a look where it has that 1, 2, 3 as a little dropdown in there. If you click on that, we're going to be putting in an expression to look at the rule input. Okay, so use the dropdown, and then go ahead and click on expression. Now we're going to type in our expression. So go ahead and click on that null. That's going to open up our expression editor. And instead of null, I'm going to type in RI. Let's make that bigger for you. RI, exclamation mark. I can select the record right there. RI, exclamation mark, record. And now to dig into that record, to find that ID field, I'm going to put in a dot, a period. And then I can select the field directly from the dropdown. So you should have something that looks like that. RI bang record, and then the ID. Once you have that, go ahead and click on OK. Go ahead, click OK again. And now it's only going to be looking at the one customer. Now, a couple other things we have to do. We're going to tell it that it's going to be looking at our purchase orders. So let's come on over to our component configuration again. Right now we're counting up the IDs, which is useless. So let's go ahead and use our dropdown. And instead we're going to tell it we're going to be doing the sum. And then go ahead and click on the X to get rid of that ID. We're going to be going through a related record type in order to find all of our purchase orders. So go ahead and use the dropdown and then scroll all the way down to the bottom. You're looking for the related record type purchase order. Once you find it, if you go off to the side, now we're looking at the fields of that related record type. We're going to look for the one that says total price. All right, that looks pretty good, but let's change the format so it's money. So if you scroll down just a tiny bit, you should be able to find the format value. Right now it's automatic. We're going to change that guy to be $. Two more things we want to change about this. First off, primary text. Again, if you scroll down a little bit, you should be able to find the primary text. Let's go ahead and change that to total order value, because I'm tight. And then I like stars as much as everybody else, but for that icon there, let's go ahead and make that into some sort of money. So I'm going to use the dropdown. And we're going to select one of our money icons. All right, now we're going to add 2 more KPIs, but these have been built for you already. This is where we're going to be using our design library. So the design library is something that allows us to maintain our organization standards and be able to reuse interfaces that might be commonly used, like things like KPIs. Okay? To find that design library, if you go on over to the left-hand side, where our components were, notice that there's another tab there called Design Library. Go ahead and select that guy. We're going to take that first one, average orders year to date, and we'll drag him out into our first column. Now, this guy is built to look, again, just at a single record, so we're going to have to tell it, well, where's the ID for that record? So where our value is, notice that we have that X in parentheses there. Go ahead and use the drop-down to select expression instead. And then in the value, we're going to do exactly what we did before. We're going to type in RI bang record and then use the dot to find the ID. RI, exclamation mark, select record, then a dot, and then in the fields, go ahead and select the ID field. Now we can go ahead and click on OK. Now in your books, there's another KPI that you can drag out, but in the interest of time, let's go ahead and just kind of forge on ahead because we want to get to AI, right? Everybody just wants AI. So let's go ahead, click on Save before you go anywhere. Big blue button up in the upper right-hand corner. All right, now NextGen told us they want us to be able to find information really quickly, and Appian provides us a records chatbot. Literally, you can use natural language, type in any question about the customer, and then it's going to go out and it's going to find information about it. You can even do that with related records as well. So, very powerful generative AI component. You can gain insights really quick. So let's go ahead and scroll down to our bottom section so we can be prepared to put in our AI chatbot. All right, left-hand side, components. Now you can scroll down to find the chatbot. I'm just going to type in chatbot and it's going to find it for me. So let's grab that records chatbot and then pull him down into that section. Now, Appian makes it really easy to configure this. Okay, basically, we tell it where it's getting its information from. It's going to be just one customer, and then we can even tell it what related data types we want it to look at as well. So over on the right-hand side, let's configure this guy. If you scroll down, we're going to look for which record type we're going to look into. This is going to be the OF customer record, just like we were looking at before. I'm going to select OF customer. And now, since this is a customer summary, we only wanted to look at the one customer. So you might have guessed RIBangRecord.id is also what we're going to tell it to look at. So under where it says the identifier, go ahead and click on Edit. That's going to open up an expression editor for you. And then once again, we're going to do RIBang. We're going to click on record. I'm going to put in a dot, and then I'm going to select that ID field. Once you have that, go ahead and scroll on down and click on OK. Now, it's good to note here that if you only wanted it to look at certain fields in the record, you could actually specify what fields to look at. You can also tell it to use related record data. So if you want to ask questions about the purchase orders, you can add that in as well. All right, let's go ahead and click on Save. All right, just a couple more things to change here. Let's go ahead and change our section labels to actually reflect what's inside of those sections. You can do that just by double-clicking on those labels right inside that canvas area. We're going to call this one Ask AI About This Customer. Good to note, guys, we don't put chat here because generally we think of chat as chatting with a live person. So another design tip, okay? We're going to change this one to be our payment. Oh, excuse me, that's our important dates. And then the one above it, that's going to be our payment details. Another design tip, make sure you don't have repetitive labels, right? We have the word payment 4 times up there. That's a little repetitive. So why don't we go ahead and click on each one of those rich text fields. Scroll on up to the top. And let's get rid of that payment from the fields. You could also do that directly in there as well. All right, let's come on up and click on Save. Now, one of the last things I want to show you on this form is I already mentioned you can use space in order to make it really easy to read and make things stand out off the page. So we're going to add in some additional space so that we can see things very easily. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take that milestone component and we're going to move it up to the top so it kind of spans the entire page rather than just being inside of that column. So I'm going to grab my milestones. And then I'm just going to drop it where I see that pink line up top. I'm also going to change the padding on the KPI card up top here so that it's going to pop out, okay? But it can be sometimes hard in order to select a layer, a component that's underneath another one. So just a trick, if you select the KPI component and you kind of hover over the words, notice how you can start selecting the layers underneath of it. We're going to go ahead and select the card layout for this guy. And then over on the right-hand side, we're going to find the padding. And then we can use the drop-down to select more. That's going to instantly make it jump off the page at you. One other thing, we talked about balance on the page. So what we're going to do is take the column that the actions and the contacts are in and just make it a little bit wider just so it balances nicely with the size of the details. Again, I'm going to use that hover over method to select my column layout from here. And then I'm going to change the width of this guy to be medium plus. All right, that's it for this form. Let's go ahead and click on Save. And then let's preview this guy. Over towards the top here, you can find the editing. There's a little drop down you can click on. And then you can select previewing from here. This way you can preview it without having to go to the actual site in order to see it. Now it's pretty big on my screen. So let me make that a little bit smaller. All right, it's pretty good. Let's see how we did. So NextGen's requirements, they wanted to see key insights about the customer. We have our KPIs out there. We wanted to be able to get information very quickly. So we have our AI component on the bottom. And then we also wanted to match the branding requirements, which we have done using constants and also using the brand new 25.2 branding preview. All right. Excellent, guys. Now, we do have a generated form. We do have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to see how far I can get with the generated form for you. The new generated form looks outstanding. I'm really pleased about it. So we're going to go back to the designer. This is going to be on page, oh, I don't even have the page here. Here's that. Let's see, Page 12? I think it's on page 12. All right, guys, let me make that a little bigger again. Okay, so this time we are looking for the Create Update form. If you scroll on down, by the way, the designer should be one tab to the left of that interface you were just in. Scroll on down, look for your W, designate workspace, how UI create or update customer. Oh, which page was it on? 15. Oh, thank you very much, 15. Oh, no, I have these are my notes. Yeah, thanks. My notes are in huge text because I'm blind, so sorry. All right, guys, we just have a couple of things here, but check out, this is our brand new component. This is called the full header template here. So this makes it really easy to change styles very quickly. You also have that secondary text under here, so you can kind of explain to your users, what are we using this form for? Why is it here? Okay. Let's see, there's also new options for backgrounds. We have new options for text colors, and there's also an incredible amount of flexibility that you can use to match use cases. We're just going to do a couple of things up here. So, but do notice, though, some of the best practices that are already in use. Let me make that a little smaller so you can see it. So, best practices, column kind of in the center here, so then your users don't have to go horizontally as well as vertically when they're filling out a form. And notice our branding is already applied here. Okay, that's because in our previous interface, we changed that branding preview, that other new component that we had. All right, also new in 25.2, you guys are hearing it here first. You can configure the box of the dialog. In other words, when you click on create a new customer, you can actually configure the dialog height and also the width in the record type if you go into actions, and then that configuration is going to be in the record actions. You might also, we already talked about all that. All right, so let's go ahead and make some changes for our use case. First off, this looks pretty good, but we can utilize this space a little bit better if we take some of the smaller fields and maybe use some side-by-side layouts, okay? So let me make that bigger. Go ahead and find your side-by-side layout over on the left-hand side. Side-by-side layouts allow you to put fields together. So I'm going to grab my side-by-side layout, and then we're going to put it right underneath of the website. Now, I'm going to take that company email and company phone number and just put them next to each other. So we're going to grab our company email, drop it into that layout, and then our company phone number. This might be a little bit tricky to get it over to the side here. Let's see. One of the things you might notice as you're moving things over in a side-by-side layout, what you're looking for here is that little vertical bar that's going to tell you where it's going to drop that component. All right. We're also going to take all of that payment information and we're going to put it together as well. So let's grab a side-by-side layout. And then we're going to drop that right underneath of the account manager. I'm going to grab the third one down, the payment currency. Drop that into our layout. The payment method. Again, watch out for that nice vertical bar. And then the payment financial institution. All right, guys, I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to show you this really quick. On that full header template, I mentioned that you can have that secondary text. When you want to make changes to that secondary text, if you select that full header template, you can make the changes over here in the component configuration. Let's see, we're not going to do that here because we are out of time and I want to get you guys going to wherever you plan to go to next. All right, let me go ahead and do our wrap up really fast here. All right, guys. So you guys have learned a lot in a very short period of time. You got to see some new features with our 25.2, so definitely be on the lookout for those. You guys are welcome to go back through, obviously, and take those UI design principles that we learned and go ahead and apply them. The environment will be available for you until Friday. And also, there's more practice if you look in the Keep Learning section of your exercise guide. In addition, we have a number of resources, Appian Academy, where you can take lots of online courses. We have our Appian documentation. If you want to impress your friends and neighbors, Appian certifications and skill batches are absolutely sure to impress. And then we also have the Appian Community YouTube video channel. So that's all I have. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your conference. So thanks for hanging with me. Thank you.